All right, we're going live.
We are going live. We are live.
Amazing.
So, Prince, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Busy Monday.
Busy Monday indeed.
Nice weather in New York over the weekend, though.
Indeed, indeed. Hi, everyone. Please come on in. Yep, this webinar should, yes, it will probably give you times just based on what region of the world you're in. But we are in EST. It's 2 p.m. here. And we're going to kick off the webinar in just a couple of minutes after folks trickle in.
Great. Yeah, Prince, let's give folks 2 or 3 minutes and we'll get going with the prepared content.
Amazing. Let's do it.
And for folks trickling in, thanks for joining today. Prince and I are just going to give attendees a couple more minutes to join, and then we'll get started here in just a moment. And as always, if anybody on the webinar has questions, we've opened up the chat. We'll monitor that throughout the session today. If you came in with a specific question that you want us to make sure we cover during the session, feel free to type it in at any time, and we will answer that whenever it works best.
100%.
Well, one more minute. Thanks everybody for joining today's session. Again, the end of dropshipping is the topic at hand today. We're giving folks just one more minute to trickle in. We'll get started in just a few seconds here. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to join us.
All right.
I think we should do it, yeah?
Why don't we go ahead and get started?
Excellent. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks one more time for joining. Welcome to today's Pietra webinar, The End of Dropshipping. I'm Tyler Merten, Customer Experience Lead here at Pietra. I'm here with my colleague and good friend, Prince Ghosh, CEO of Pietra's Factored Quality team. Prince, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
Of course, I'm great. Thank you so much for hopping back on, and I'm excited to do this. And thanks everyone for coming back on. I see a bunch of new names here. I see a few names that we've seen before. So if anyone remembers back in April, I believe, March and April at the end of Q1 of this year, when the Trump administration first introduced the tariffs in place, Tyler and I would do a weekly webinar series for, I think, almost 2 months. We were multiple times a week recording a webinar series, just kind of guiding and navigating our users through the tumultuous period of time post the Trump administration's first enactment of tariffs. And so this is kind of a full circle moment where many of the tariffs, especially with those with China, have actually gone in place. And so we're here and we're back to help brands like yours figure out how to navigate this next stage of global supply chains, and just to see how we can be helpful.
Excellent. And Prince mentioned that he and I co-hosted a series of webinars on tariff policy. If anybody wants to view those webinar recordings, they are available on our help center of our website if you're signed into the platform, as well as our contrast page, which is the platform we use to broadcast all of these sessions. So if you're a first-time joiner, welcome. Thanks for joining us. If you attended some of those tariff webinars, welcome back. Go ahead and share my screen here.
Amazing.
Excellent. And again, today we're here to discuss the end of dropshipping. And before we jump into today's content, quick reminder for everybody, Pietra is a e-commerce operations platform really designed to help growing brands handle everything from sourcing to fulfillment to marketing and distribution. Additionally, we've added a suite of AI assistants layered on top of all those legacy tools designed to make your workflows less hands-on, more seamless, more automated. So we're definitely in the AI game. But the primary topic at hand is to break down recent tariff updates and specifically what they mean for dropshipping. And one reality we are dealing with here is that dropshipping has really changed as we know it. De minimis loophole is gone. That's left a lot of sellers, frankly, feeling that the rug's been pulled out from underneath them, and they're looking for a little bit of guidance as far as what they should do next. And here at Pietra, we see that as another part of our role to keep our audience informed, agile, and ready for whatever policy changes come ahead. So that was the genesis for today's session. And additionally, we're going to be doing a little bit of product demo. We want to keep these to be informational and to just let you know what the current status is. We also have some tools that we think could help. Maybe if you were a dropshipper in the past, you're just starting a business, you might be dipping your toe into print on demand or working with a supplier for the first time. We want to make sure that you know these tools exist and that you know how to access them. We're also going to be demoing some of our new AI features. And if you're not yet a member, just know that you can access these tools by signing up for a free trial. We offer free 7-day trials with full access to anybody who's interested. And additionally, as always, we'll leave time at the end for Q&A. Don't hesitate to jump in with questions as we go. We're happy to answer those as they come up, okay? With that, Prince, you want to take it over from here and get into our content today?
Let's do it. I'm excited to kick things off. And folks, again, please do please do ask questions in the comments. And if there's anything specific that we can help address, we will continue to flag this in real time. So again, thanks so much for everyone for hopping on. Like Tyler mentioned, back at the end of the first quarter of this year, we went through a sequence of webinars, basically navigating how the administration had started to enact tariffs. The outcome of those back at the end of the first quarter of this year was the Trump administration actually kind of delayed or procrastinated the enactment of tariffs. And so this past week, over the course of the beginning of August, was when a lot of the import duties and import taxes on goods actually started going into place. And so on the screen in front of you guys here are a couple of kind of key pieces, right? This started as a stacked tariff where the government said, hey, look, if there's a baseline tariff already on a good or on a product based on the material, based on how it's made, that goes into place. Then on top of that, there's a country-specific tariff that will be enacted. And the goal, again, of all of this, is to enable or to try and encourage the United States to manufacture more and more of its own goods and to pull more production and inventory back into the US. But obviously, over the course of the summer, many brands tried to navigate what this meant for themselves, as I'm sure many of you have. Tried to figure out, where should I move my production? Should I move my manufacturing out of China, into India, into Indonesia, Vietnam, back to the US? And so this is kind of everything that's happened. And so finally, on August 1st of this year, so 10 days ago, the Trump administration said, as of today, we are officially ending de minimis, which was one of the large parts of the tariffs that were kind of put into place. De minimis, again, was a loophole that allowed for low-value goods to be imported into the United States without needing to go through traditional customs clearance, without needing to go through a traditional customs broker. That obviously has now changed. And so now even low-value goods underneath $800 will be subject to import duties and import tariffs and will have to be cleared by a traditional customs broker. So whether it's you clearing it as an importer or whether it's your factory that clears it is up to your what are called Incoterms, which are basically your commercial terms of, are you responsible for taking care of the legalities, or is your factory responsible for taking care of the legalities of paying for duties and shipments? But de minimis is now no longer in place, which is one of the biggest kind of changes, and obviously impacts a lot of smaller, more emerging brands. And so that'll be the key of what we focus on and talk about for today. Tyler, any questions there or anything else that you think we should double click on?
No, I think that's great. I think that provides a good background of how we got to where we are today.
Amazing. So why don't we go to the next slide, folks, and just keeping an eye on time. The way we'll try and chunk this up is we'll go through a few different slides that we put together, give a little bit of commentary about what we're seeing in the market, about how we can potentially help and how we've seen other brands navigate the end of de minimis, particularly dropshipping brands. Tyler will go into a screen sharing and actually share with you a couple of features that we've spent the time building at Pietra that are dedicated to helping brands overcome these specific inhibitions, and then we'll leave the last 5 to 10 minutes for Q&A. We'll leave the last couple of minutes for Q&A that's out in the world. So just starting over here, guys, the way that all this timeline is played out again is over the course of basically February, March into April, the administration announced that they would start imposing higher tariffs over coming months onto different countries. This started really targeted and focused on China and imports from Hong Kong. Over the course of the summer, there were different trade deals struck with different countries. So the Trump administration basically went around to countries within the EU, within Southeast Asia, and said, hey, look, let's put a trade deal into place. There were some reciprocal tariffs where some of those countries also started to impose import duties back on American manufactured goods. And it was a pretty chaotic summer overall. And then finally, the Trump administration, as of last week of August 4th, basically said, look, these tariff policies are now baked into place. And one of the core kind of policies would be the removal of de minimis exemptions for brands importing products from China and from other countries across the world. And so that's when all of these started going into place over the course of this last week. So what we're obviously now facing is kind of a huge backlash for two specific types of customers. One type of customer is brands that are looking to import samples into the US. So think lower value goods that you typically order before you place that large purchase order, production order to your factory. And the other the other type of brands that are really typically affected are dropshipping brands. So brands that historically have manufactured product and have it shipped directly from China to end consumer instead of ordering inventory, storing it at a warehouse domestically in the US, and then ultimately shipping it to the end customer. Cool.
And Prince, great question from Danny in the chat. And Hassan, thanks for answering that directly. Danny asked, I thought de minimis was ending as of August 29th. Can we maybe double click there and clarify when de minimis ended for China and Hong Kong versus the rest of the world?
Yeah, great question. So I think latest and greatest research, and Hassan here is correct, is for China and Hong Kong, there were a bunch of changes. So it's funny, the actual honest answer is there are a lot of kind of different timelines that a lot of these rules were strictly enacted across. The most recent version of everything is, yes, de minimis exemptions were set to, tariffs on China were set to increase or are set to increase on August 12th for all products, but products coming out of China and Hong Kong lower than $800, once duty-free, those have been subject to applicable duty since May 2nd. There have been a lot of exceptions that the administration has made as they have also started putting resources into place in U.S. Customs and Borders to be able to actually properly impose import taxes on these products. But then the U.S. is setting to end de minimis for all countries effective on August 29th and afterwards. So that is kind of the current latest and greatest. As of May of 2025, for all imports from China specifically, the kind of multiple levels of tariffs were first the various Section 301 tariffs. So these were the general kind of set of tariffs that were enacted by the administration in 2018. Then there was a 20% fentanyl specific tariff that was enacted at some point over the last couple of years. And then a 10% IEEPA tariff, reciprocal tariff, that was added on top. And this was on top of traditional import duties that were already in place for different product categories. So that is kind of the latest and greatest on timelines for everything.
Yes. And just a couple of PSAs and pieces of general guidance, which we always share during our tariff webinars, which is, number one, take this as informational, for informational purposes only. And number two, if you have detailed questions, always try to seek out a licensed customs broker. They're going to have the most updated information, and they're going to be able to provide you the most specific guidance. We're always happy to provide, guidance based on what we know, but it is just general guidance. Additionally, I'll add, and this is just, a relevancy or recency note. The business community seems to be settling in on this new tariffs model. The Daily, for example, Daily New York Times podcast had some business leaders on this morning. So if you're looking for some additional, really current information, that could be a great resource to check out. And, Danny, to your question of do we really think this is happening for all countries August 29th? We don't know for sure. Of course, there could be additional changes, but based on the information we have, this is the base case scenario.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe just to answer a couple of other questions that have popped up in the Q&A, just so that we can make this dynamic. Kevin asked a really great question for everyone else on the call. So Kevin basically asked, hey, can you guys address the potential backlog and possible weak link of customs? Will this be a breakpoint and a bottleneck given the added administrative cost to clear customs in late 2025? So it's so funny. When Tyler and I were doing the original round of tariff webinars, one of the kind of funny jokes that we would make was this was all of this was being enacted at the same point that DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, was going around and aggressively cutting government spending in different departments. And so, as you guys can all imagine, right, the ability to actually maybe even just pausing and taking a step back for everyone's kind of historical context. De minimis was a policy that was actually enacted, I believe, in the 1970s or 1980s by the government administration at the time to reduce the burden of filing import customs records on the U.S. administration. So within the U.S. within the U.S. government administration, U.S. Customs and Borders Protection is the group within the administration, CBP, that is responsible for actually clearing products that are coming into the U.S. And the reason CBP does that is because it was actually primarily driven for safety reasons, so that there weren't illegal products, firearms, arms, drugs that were being smuggled into the U.S. Over time, it also became a source of revenue for the government, and it became a way for the U.S. government to control economic policy and relations with foreign countries. And so tariffs became kind of like a tremendous lever for different presidents and different Congresses and different administrations. As you can imagine, reducing or removing the need to say, hey, anything $800 and below goes through the easy pass lane adds a ton of administrative burden. So to answer your question very directly, Kevin, yes, this will probably by and far become a bottleneck and a breakpoint in the global supply chain. You should, as a business owner, plan to have delays in being able to get your products from China into your warehouses in the US and to your final customers. There's just a shortage and a limitation of the number of customs officers that exist in the world. And these are folks that need to be licensed and trained. And now there will be hundreds of millions of new packages that all need to be vetted, certified, and accounted for. So yes, think of it as if the government said, hey, now anyone, we've reduced the driving age from 18 to 16. Think of the number of teenagers that would show up at the DMV and think of how many more DMV folks would need to be staffed to be able to actually process all those licenses. That's kind of the equivalent of what is happening. So our general advice for brands is plan ahead, order inventory in larger bulks if you can. Try and negotiate with your factories to say, if you order larger quantities, can you get lower cost per unit? And plan for a little bit of a delay going into Q3 and Q4 of this year.
Great.
Awesome.
Great questions. Keep them coming, audience.
Cool. Alrighty, guys. So let's go into some of the specifics, and we're going to become pretty kind of detailed and get pretty, meaty here, guys. The big question that everyone kind of asks is, hey, look, I am a dropshipper, okay? I've historically found a factory that every time I had an order from a customer, they would manufacture the product, and either they would do it straight off the production line, or they would maybe store the inventory in China at a fulfillment center in China, and they would ship that inventory directly to the customer in the US. And actually, for a lot of folks' context, we here at Pietra, as Tyler mentioned, we're a commerce enablement platform for brands. We have three kind of distinct pillars of our business. The first is our sourcing marketplace. So we have factories across the world that brands source from, and we have the ability to help brands run quality control on those products as they're being manufactured. The second pillar of our business is actually a fulfillment business. So we run a few fulfillment centers. We run a couple of locations based here in the US and have close to 100,000 square feet. And then we actually have a micro fulfillment center based in China itself, where a lot of our brands will manufacture inventory, store inventory based in China, and then fulfill either to a warehouse in the US or fulfill directly to a customer. And so this is something we've firsthand seen and powered a lot of customers to do. And then finally, the third pillar of Pietra's business is a suite of sales, marketing, and post-purchase tools that we've built. So dropshippers are a part of our community. It's somewhat these are types of businesses that we've built tools for. The big sort of note here, folks, is for a lot of dropshippers, the economics of dropshipping worked, and these businesses worked because there were no import duties to be paid on the products that were being imported. So if historically, you used to import a product for $10 and then you sold it for $15, the math might have worked out to be able to say, look, we'll manufacture the product for $10, we'll ship it for $2, you keep $1 or $2 off of each order, and that's how you build a profitable business. For a lot of brands, the end of de minimis, yes, will indeed impact the way that they think about dropshipping and whether the economics of your business work out. So for those of you who don't have an accountant, I would highly recommend getting one. The specific thing that you want to ask your accountant for is landed cost. So landed cost is a definitional term, and maybe we can even send out like a glossary after this, Tyler. So everyone, please just remember this term, landed cost. Landed cost is the cost of what it costs to manufacture your product, what it costs to store your product, what it costs to ship your product from international into the US, what it costs to store your product again in the US, and then what it costs to do the last mile of fulfillment and get that product to the front door of your customers' houses. So that is how you should think about the economics of your business, is how much am I selling the product for and what is the landed cost of my product? And the difference between those two is your gross profit per order. So for those of you who are dropshipping, gross profit per order is everything. That is the lifeblood of dropshipping businesses. So please just, please very carefully kind of pay attention to that. Okay, great. So let's just see real quick here if we have a few other questions. Tyler, are there any other questions we want to take on this slide?
Let's see, a couple of great, beginner questions. And Marv, maybe we circle back to, our views regarding, the positive aspects of starting an e-com business in this space. Let's do that along with the product demo. I think short answer preview is we've developed some tools that make it easier than ever to communicate with suppliers, and we're providing you access to suppliers at a scale that may not have been possible before. And also take this with a grain of salt. I'm not an economist, but consumer spending has remained quite resilient despite all of the thrash. So I see those as tailwinds. Prince, anything to add in that respect right now?
No, I think that's rock solid. I mean, I think the reality, and Danny, this kind of goes to your point that Hassan addressed as well, of like, is this really happening? Look, folks, we are in the middle of this administration, right? And we have another 3 years of this administration to go. So I think the honest, candid answer for everyone listening to this call, and Tyler and I, we're here to try and deliver as close to facts as we can and to help you guys build resilient businesses. We're not here to sugarcoat the truth. And I think the reality is this is just the new world that we live in, right? One where we don't have these trade loopholes, and we live in a world now where you can't just import product without paying taxes on it. It's a pretty firm stance the Trump administration has set in place, and whether it is enacted this week on August 29th, in 2027 or a year after that, it's an impending reality. So I think the best thing to do is to think about how can you start a business today that isn't dependent on these tax loopholes and trade loopholes to be a successful, profitable business. Whether that means figuring out how to optimize your manufacturing early on, whether it means negotiating with your suppliers and having those hard conversations today, whether it means increasing your price points and biting the bullet and saying honestly to your customers, guys, look, we built a brand that we think you guys love, and we want to make sure that it's around for the long run. And just the reality of it is we can't sustain unless we pass along some of these costs to you. All of these are strategies that we've seen brands use over the last 3 months to survive, and many, many brands have. And so it's hard, it's not easy, but I think now is as good of a time as any to think about how do you build a sustainable, profitable business, not one that is predicated on the small tax loopholes that might be closed at any point in time. Tyler, tell me if you have any other sentiment or if you disagree.
I agree with all of that.
Amazing. Cool. All right. Why don't we go to the next slide? So the reality of it here, folks, is this, right? As the dropshipping market has kind of taken this hit, and as dropshippers are struggling in many ways with profitability on their businesses, we're seeing this kind of ripple across all the different channels dropshippers sell through, whether it's direct to consumer via Shopify. But the reality of kind of the market is even the marketplaces like Amazon, if they're dropshippers selling on Amazon or Etsy or any of these other marketplaces, they're going to have a hard time as well. And again, just thinking about the economics of your business as a dropshipper, right? You have your landed cost of your product, you add your gross profit on top of that. If you sell directly through Shopify, that's it. You don't have any other costs apart from just paying for Shopify's transaction costs. If you're selling on Amazon, obviously the marketplaces will take a percentage cut of your GMV or percentage cut of your order. So you just, again, want to be really, really careful and thoughtful about what are the channels you're selling through. Maybe this is actually a great plug. So Pietra, again, we are a B2B services marketplace, that first pillar of our business. So the core kind of business on the B2B marketplace are factories, right, that you can source through Pietra. We also have quality control vendors that you can source through Pietra. One of the other things that actually we have within our network is a set of accounting services firms that we're more than happy to connect you guys with, as well as import brokers who will actually help you calculate what are your duties and your tariffs. So if anyone needs a really good accountant, a really good services firm for any of these, please let us know. And Tyler and I are more than happy to introduce you. But the one thing, and kind of maybe the silver lining in all of this for the folks listening on the call is this. One of the big reasons that the Trump administration has been so hard and aggressive on de minimis is because, as I'm sure many of you know, some of the massive overseas behemoths like Shein and like Temu are businesses that have raised billions of dollars of venture capital funding to effectively build scaled versions of dropshipping business. And we're flooding the US with low quality, unsafe, unregulated products that were ending up in American consumers' hands. But even maybe worse, these were brands, Shein and Temu, that were edging out more traditional American businesses and traditional American dropshippers who are actually trying to build sustainable, profitable businesses, while working 9 to 5 and doing this as a nights and weekends kind of hobby. And so the one kind of silver lining across all of this is, yes, while this does impact those of you who are trying to start your dropshipping businesses for the first time, it does also pretty significantly impact a lot of these larger entities like the Sheins, like the Temus of the world. And so it's not to say that this is, good or bad, but there's equivalent pressure that is being targeted amongst both the small guys, the medium-sized businesses, and the large behemoths altogether. All of this was in the spirit of enabling American businesses to have a chance, right, and to not get edged out by competitive pricing, which was effectively happening when those large marketplaces were able to import products for cents on the dollar and then resell them at 70, 80, 90% gross margins. So that's kind of the one good news of it all. Yep. Tyler, shall we take a couple of more questions on that have come up?
Yes, definitely. And just to maybe backtrack and recap a quick point that you made to answer Rebecca's question about accountant databases that we can suggest. So similarly to how we offer access to factories and suppliers directly through our sourcing marketplace, we actually offer creative services and business professionals on there as well. So I'd encourage you, and I can do this quickly in the demo, to browse through some of our service providers. You can find some great connections there, including to licensed customs brokers and freight forwarders. So just, I think that was that question was answered in your explanation. I just wanted to make sure that that was captured for Rebecca specifically. And then,
yeah, awesome.
Just a few questions about business planning, and I think folks are just looking for guidance on how to budget if they're just getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Rebecca has a specific question that I think is perhaps really interesting and worth addressing. So Rebecca said, in my pre-launch phase of my CPG ecom business over here, supplier research has taken me from China to India to Italy, back to China, and now in the US. And I'm just so frustrated with pricing. Are there any accountant databases you can suggest or places to work to plan out? Yes. So like Tyler said, we do have accountant databases, but actually Rebecca, just to maybe address the first part of your question, even if this wasn't a specific point. So I know a lot of folks who are looking for suppliers right now are really just frustrated on where to go. Price transparency with manufacturers is one of the most critical things that you can think about. Again, not to too aggressively plug Pietra services, but one of the big value propositions that we offer here at Pietra is a database and a marketplace of almost 50,000 factories across the world, many of which are in our network, many of whom exist in kind of our directory where, if you guys pay a Pietra subscription, we can give you access to their contact information to reach out to. But one of the things that we try and pride ourselves on is actually having clear, transparent pricing for each of these factories in different countries and different regions, and to also have transparency around size of MOQs. So whether or not this is a factory that requires large orders to be placed. So think of kind of the factories that work with the Walmarts or the Targets, the Nikes of the world, or whether these are factories that are built for emerging, starting kind of e-commerce brands like yours, Rebecca. So please do check out our Pietra database. Jonathan had a great point. He said, I raised my swimwear prices $3 and nobody said anything. If the product is good, they'll buy it 100%. Danny asked the question, but what about $20? I feel like our customers wouldn't love that. This is kind of a great discourse point, Jonathan, Danny, and for anyone else listening. The honest answer is Tyler and I will not be able to tell you guys, right, what is the right price point that you can increase your products with. What we can advise on is strategies of how to go about doing it. So back in April and May, when the administration first announced tariffs, what we saw firsthand was a lot of our Pietra customers sent really thoughtfully worded emails to customers, basically saying, hey guys, look, we run this brand. We love this brand. We've wanted to, we've loved having you guys as customers. With the recent administrative changes, we just cannot operate at a price point that enables us to keep going. So what we are going to do is put into effect a 10 or 15 or 20% increase in prices. The brand eats some part of the profitability. The brand passes along some part of that increased cost to customers. And what you'll find is if you've built a true brand with strong customer base and a strong loyal following, many of our brands and many of our customers saw, if anything, actually an increase in customer love and customers doubling down and saying, look, I'm going to order my Christmas shopping in advance or my Black Friday shopping in advance because I want to support you guys as a merchant and as a business. So just having that honest conversation and discourse with the customer is one of the most powerful, important things that you can do here. Awesome.
Great. In the interest of time, should we move forward on the deck, make sure we get through the planned content today?
Absolutely. And so let's wrap up in the next 2 minutes with just like a couple of more practical sort of implications, guys. So again, as you know, pricing is really, really critical. I think I saw a really interesting point. Jonathan said, the thing is the final price can't be calculated until items are packed for shipping and weighed. Yes, that is a true point. That the way that parcel services the way that parcel services, so for international shipping work, is you do have to weigh out the item and measure the dimensions of the parcel, and then that's how it's quoted out. Or if you're a brand that's large enough, you can start shipping what is called LCL, less than container load, where you can work with a freight forwarder, anyone from ours that we have within the Pietra ecosystem. So we actually have a freight forwarder that will help you move containers of goods from point A to point B, or other freight forwarders that exist in the world. FedEx's freight forwarder, DHL's freight forwarder, and they will consolidate all of your goods into a container. So then you just pay on a per container basis instead of on the weight of the product basis. So that's how these sorts of things work. But again, just making sure that you know what is the price point of your landed cost is the most important thing that you can do as a brand. Tyler, maybe we can go through the last couple of slides and then I can turn it over to you for a demo. Cool. So again, maybe we'll actually kind of wrap up here, guys. The most important thing that you can do is a couple of things. So the first is think really critically now about where you are sourcing from. And Ro, who's our founder, actually dropped this in the chat. We at Pietra recently launched a tool called our Ask Pietra AI. Think of it as kind of almost like a chat GPT for our entire sourcing marketplace. So you can basically go in and you can just say, hey, I'm looking to manufacture, t-shirts, hats, hoodies. Tyler will give an example of leggings in a certain country or in a certain geography. And our Ask Pietra AI will effectively help you find a manufacturer at your price point, at your cost point that makes sense. So please leverage tools that exist out there to find a trusted, high quality supplier book a third-party quality control inspection. We offer those services through the Pietra ecosystem as well. The last thing you want is to spend all this money manufacturing product, have it show up to the US, and the product is damaged, ripped, torn, the wrong size. So quality control, quality insurance is as important, if not even more important than ever. And just make sure that you're manufacturing high quality product for your customers here, folks. But without further ado, I will actually turn it over to Tyler, who can showcase a couple of our products that we built here at Pietra, specifically to help you guys as dropshippers through this next point in time.
Perfect. Thanks, Prince. And folks, keep the questions coming. We typically hold off on showing product demos during these sessions just because we want to keep it informative. But we have made some pretty impressive strides in terms of implementing AI to what I would call our legacy toolkit. So any member of Pietra will now have access to a trained set of agents, AI assistants, who can answer any questions for you and provide custom guidance in real time. So for example, you're going to see here a single search bar where you can type in, just like if you use ChatGPT or if you haven't used any of these AI tools before, a Google search, you can ask any question and it is going to provide a tailored response and guide you through the next steps. So I get the great privilege of speaking with a lot of beginners during welcome calls, during weekly webinar sessions. And we are finding that a lot of folks really are just getting started, or you maybe have operated a dropshipping business before and you're interested in sourcing for the first time. Well, the best thing I could recommend for anybody to do who's attending this webinar, even if you're a longstanding Pietra customer, is to give this Copilot tool a try. So you'll see here, I went ahead in this single search bar and shared a question, which could be anybody on this webinar. I'm a dropshipper. I'm exploring sourcing from a supplier for the first time. Maybe I found, a certain product from Alo Yoga that has worked really well for me, and I want to create a similar product to it. But I might not know where to get started, for example, because my dropshipping business is no longer going to be what I'm going to do in the future. I might be exploring sourcing. I might have a little bit of budget to do that. And by simply asking this question, your Pietra AI assistant is going to provide you some options, okay? And I saw a question here from somebody who asked about low MOQ suppliers in the US. And, while dropshipping may not be the same, we still have print on demand. So if you're joining us and you are looking to get started with a minimal budget, we definitely have a print on demand studio that is linked to this Copilot tool. And one benefit of print on demand is, you can customize a set of stock items with your logo, with your specific pattern, your color palette, and you won't pay for those items until they're orders. This could be a really nice alternative for somebody with a limited budget to get started. Okay, great. So it might take a minute to think or so, but you can see here, it's already provided some really helpful sourcing options for me. So instead of drop shipping, it presents some supplier options for me, some custom manufacturing options, even premium options here, okay? And then if you just get into the practice of having a dialogue with this agent, it can become a really helpful personal assistant to guide you through the process of launching a business on the Pietra platform, right? So for example, and just take note that we're updating these tools every week. So even if you've checked out the tool maybe a couple of weeks ago, it's worth coming back because we're making regular improvements here. And we've even provided the ability to allow an AI sourcing agent to find factories for you, send outreach messages to factories, compare pricing, and handle follow-up questions and negotiations with your supplier. Right? So you can see here, it's already read that I want to make this nice set of leggings, target price $8 to $15 per piece, MOQ preference 50 to 200 pieces initially. And it's going to ask me to refine my product brief. And again, give it a moment to think. But the idea here is that it's a custom trained agent designed to walk you through this experience, which could take you quite a bit of time and maybe feel intimidating if you're a beginner. Additionally, it's going to link to all of our legacy tools, whether that be sourcing or our marketing tools, our content studio, and refer you back if you need a little bit of guidance on how to use those as well. Okay.
Amazing.
Prince, any additional questions here?
No, I think that's awesome, folks. I think that's awesome, Tyler. And one of the key things to actually note, folks, is soon this AI agent, actually today, we'll be able to start reaching out to your suppliers in your inbox and automate large parts of the sourcing process. And again, we're just trying to double down on making as many and building as many tools as we can to help you guys find better suppliers, renegotiate your costs, and please do check out our Ask Pietra AI and see what it can do for you. So, Tyler, in the 3 or 4 minutes we have left, why don't we go through and we can knock out a few other questions in the public chat, and then we can knock out a few other questions in the Q&A as well. How does that sound?
Perfect. I'm gonna grab a good follow-up question from Sandra. I have found that even the US print-on-demand products say source materials are from China. Now, Prince, keep me honest here.
Yeah.
I believe if you source a print-on-demand product from a US-based printer, the tariff on that base product will have already been paid. So you're not going to be paying any additional tariffs on top of what your purchase price is on Pietra.
That is exactly right. So the way that print-on-demand just really quickly works, folks, is print-on-demand basically is the opposite end of the spectrum of custom manufacturing. Let's say you have an idea for a t-shirt and merch store that you want to start for the first time for your restaurant that you own, okay? You could basically set up a print-on-demand offering, and we at Pietra, we actually do have a print-on-demand offering that you can tap into, and basically say, hey, every time a customer places an order for one of my shirts, we're going to send one individual product to that customer. The way it works behind the scenes is warehouses and manufacturers domestically in the US have ordered dozens of what are called blanks from factories in China, stored them in the US, and then they've put those logos, and then they will put your logo, or they will put whatever print you want on the piece of apparel or whatever the merchandise is, typically on the product at the fulfillment center or at the warehouse here in the US. So for a lot of apparel-based merch, it's a screen printing process that's used, but yes, all of those duties and tariffs have already been paid for. There's nothing additional.
Great.
Awesome.
Excellent. Prince, do we have time for one or two final
I think we do. Why don't we do one or two final questions just to wrap things up, Tyler?
See, I'm just scrolling through here. Oh, this is a good one from Judy. Is it recommended that you have a Shopify account, or can we just sell directly from your marketplace without having an account? I can pick that one up.
Please. Yeah, of course.
So Shopify account is certainly not required. I will say most of the brands we work with, especially established brands, will have a Shopify account just because they have a pretty robust set of tools to help you manage your e-commerce business. That said, included in every membership is a free store listing. It's quite templatized and mostly used by print-on-demand customers, but you can certainly sell directly from the Pietra marketplace without having a Shopify account. And if and when you have a customer who orders, we have the checkout experience, and then we will manage the payouts for you as well. So not required, but nearly all of the established brands we work with do have a Shopify account, or Wix or WooCommerce or one of these other platforms.
That's exactly right. Yep, 100%. And maybe I'll address one last final question from Aliana. Aliana says, I'm currently designing my product line. My initial thought was to look at companies that offer AI capabilities to help with design, specifically without having to hire an illustrator. I stumbled on Pietra, which I've enjoyed using so far, but I wanted to know if you have any other additional tools other than the AI Copilot. So Aliana and everyone else, the answer is yes, 100%. So Pietra, the way to think about Pietra is almost kind of like a pyramid. We started with the base infrastructure of our sourcing marketplace and all of our fulfillment centers and our baseline set of tools. From there, we built a suite of AI products, our content studio and a few others, our design studio. And then most recently, we released our Pietra AI Copilot. So the way to think about the Pietra AI Copilot is almost like a control tower where you can go to it and you can say, hey, I need help, creating ads. I need help designing a product. And it will actually guide you to our other AI tools. But we have a ton of other AI tools in and around the Pietra ecosystem, Aliana. So again, as mentioned, we have a tool called our Content Studio, which is an AI-powered content studio quite literally built to decrease the cost for brands like you guys on how much you have to spend on photo shoots and video shoots. So we can help you generate static assets for your PDPs on your site to images and videos that you can put into sales and marketing collateral sent out via email or SMS or other channels. So we have tools like that. We have tools like our design studio, which are meant to help brands that are just starting design their products for the first time, be it apparel or be it a home good, be it a hat, a shirt, a scarf, whatever it is. But we have an entire suite of robust tools within Pietra's ecosystem that I would highly, highly encourage anyone to go out and check. And Tyler, maybe we can wrap this up with this note. So 2 kind of questions for you. The first is, what's the best way for folks to start using Pietra, and how much does it cost? Is there a free trial? Can people start, messing around with Pietra today? And then 2, what's the best way for folks to get in touch if they have any other questions?
Great question. So yes, we do offer a free trial to everybody who wants to test us out. The best way to get set up is to visit pietrastudio.com. Pietrastudio.com, we make it very easy to find us. You'll sign up for an account, 3-question survey, and then you'll get free access for a full 7 days to all of the tools, whether that be sourcing, our marketing tools, Content Studio, great overview there. And then secondly, if you have additional questions, you can always reach out to our customer support team via our little chat bubble in the lower right-hand corner, or you can send us an email at support@pietrastudio.com, support@pietrastudio.com. We're here to answer all of your general and specific questions. So yeah, let's wrap things up here today. Prince, thanks for your time as always. Audience, thank you for your great questions and dialogue as well. I saw some help being provided by some of the other attendees, so thanks for filling in for us there. And then lastly, we have another webinar installment on Thursday. We'd love to have you back. If you're available, keep an eye out for the invite for that one. That's on SEO and AEO optimization. Do I have that right, Prince?
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, we'll be doing a webinar on Thursday, folks, on the other side of the value chain. So as more and more people find brands via ChatGPT and go into places like ChatGPT and Claude to say, best apparel near me or best cookware or home goods, products, how do you as a brand get mentioned? How do you show up? How do you display in these AI systems? That is going to be the topic of Thursday's webinar, and we'll show you how to use Pietra to help with that as well.
All right. Thanks, folks. Have a great afternoon.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Bye now.